Spiritual people of the world, we are the blood that drives humanity forward. Whether others realize it or not, politics is just a substitute for spirituality. It's materialistic cousin, perhaps even distant cousin. Because what human beings and people in general try to achieve through politics is really the same liberation that spiritualists and people who are devout to their tradition are trying to achieve in actuality. Now, in politics, people try to achieve liberation. Now, liberation is a vital part of what it is to be human. We as human beings naturally want to break out of our confines, beyond the cage that we feel around us. And we oftentimes think that this can be done through society, through societal efforts, through our participation in society. But more often than not, well, 100% of the time, eventually, we start to realize that society, politics, it's just not enough to allow us to break free. We can exist as one cohesive unit with other people in a society and work towards similar goals in this material world. But for ultimate contentment, for ultimate satisfaction of self, we have to have a spirituality that we want to stick to. This can be a number of traditions, this can be a number of practices that we find ourselves to be most attuned with, to be naturally, at one with who we are, and then we collect them and then we move forward towards that which is just behind this material reality, that which is just behind the materialism that rules society. And once we find a practice, once we find a tradition that we follow, that we work through towards the source of all things, you can call it God, you can call it the gods, spirits, or none of the above, you can call it nothingness even, nirvana, doesn't matter. Once we find this equilibrium between ourselves and a spiritual tradition, then that's when we start to move forward and accept that, okay, as a human being, society will never be enough, even for one life, let alone the many lives that many of us think that we will live in reincarnation. Now, as a spiritual person, I would say that you will find pitfalls. You will find a number of people, perhaps even friends, family members, even best friends, or people that you look up to, that will not understand your plight, will not understand how and why you are working towards that which is beyond the society they think is the ultimate, the society that they insist is the only way to live in this world through. As human beings, we have a natural ability to think about multiple options, to consider multiple outcomes to how our lives should be lived. And now, there are many people who attach themselves dogmatically, religiously, politically, to certain groups, whether it be, you can call it extreme left, extreme right, extreme religious groups, and they hold on so tight and they expect that safety, that their understanding of reality is safe if they just hold tight enough to this or that idea. And then what ends up happening is that they become fearful of even considering that there's something beyond the ideas that they hold so dear. And their hands end up bleeding, and they end up bleeding out spiritually. And there's nothing left of them but the possibility that they will be reborn as another person. Now, we can be reborn in this life multiple times, symbolically, metaphorically. And this is what has happened to me. I used to be quite a materialist, but as I started to realize that there was something behind reality, something that I needed to look towards, I needed to understand, I started to work away from my materialistic understanding and my insistence upon sense gratification or seeking women and drugs or money. I decided that to find that which is behind all of this false and temporary sense gratification is my ultimate goal. That which is the finger that points to the finger that points to the moon that points to the sun. An old Buddhist saying, and maybe it has its roots in Hinduism, but regardless, I just want to find the road, the finger that points to the finger that points to the moon that points to the sun. I just want to find the road I need to follow in order to reach the source behind all things. This is my mission. This can be your mission. As a spiritual person, this should be your goal. No matter what tradition you accept as your own, no matter what people you accept as your own, try to find this path of a number of guides that will lead you towards the source. Now, even when you find your path, I ask you, do not insist that it is the only one, because where most spiritual people go wrong, even ones that aren't dogmatic, aren't especially religious, where they go wrong is trying to think that they are superior. That is when a spiritualist finds an obstacle that he creates for himself. We place these roadblocks of how we think of other traditions. Okay, Muslims are obviously not following the correct path, roadblock. Okay, witches, Wicca are obviously not the right path, roadblock. And we either have to hop over these obstacles we create for ourselves or run around them in order to reach the realization that these obstacles we place for ourselves, that ultimately every tradition practiced skillfully is working towards the same source that we are. So brothers and sisters, as a spiritual person, take up your thoughts, sift through them, decide who you truly are, decide which path is truly yours to follow, and then start the journey. Start that journey for the peak, even if you are in the land before the valley. Look at that peak and be like, I'm going to be there one day. And even though I have to descend, I will rise. I will rise, and I will reach the peak and know that I am one with the ultimate. Because oneness is the ultimate goal. Thank you very much for watching. I hope all of you have a great day.